So anyway, I want to bring in Dr. Richard Harris from Lakeland, Florida. He's the associate professor of communications at Southeastern University. He's a former member of the Ku Klux Klan. He's written a book, One Nation Under Curse, years ago, about 10 years ago. He wrote this book, and he basically knows a lot about this white supremacist movement. So I do want to stair step this with you. The bottom step. Do you think the President of the United States is a white supremacist?
No, Bill. I cannot say that he's a white supremacist. I cannot say that he is a racist. However, I will say that anyone who grew up in America is going to be racially biased to some extent, but it's not we need to get away from this whole idea of a binary system of you're either racist or you're not racist. No, it's actually you're somewhere on the scale. And because of media, because of our parents, oftentimes, we tend to we're fed these stereotypes over and over again, and we all have racial bias. And it doesn't matter what color your skin is. So is Donald Trump racially biased? Yes, so are you and so am I to some extent. And what we need to do is we need to be working on correcting that and becoming as the least racially biased that we possibly can be. But is he a white supremacist? No.
All right. So, I mean, you can argue philosophically that people are not objective in their evaluations of other people. I would tell you that in my case, I don't take into account skin color ever. All right. I mean, my assistant, I've been with me for 27 years. All right. And she's black. And I never, ever do that. Now, you might say, well, unconsciously, O'Reilly, because you were brought up in a white suburb of Levittown. All right. Fine. I'm not even going to bother with that. I'm going to tell you, doctor, that in my experience, 45 years in journalism, anybody who hurts another person on the basis of skin color is a racist. Anybody who doesn't is not an active racist. That's my definition. Okay? And as far you have your definition, I have my definition. Now, the true racists that are in America and that join these organizations or are on the internet saying hateful things about other people, how much of the population do you think is involved with this?
I couldn't begin to tell you. And I know you told your audience that I was a member of a white supremacist group. Actually, back in the 1970s, I was the Grand Dragon of the state of Indiana for the KKK. And even then, the Klan was larger than what police and media would say. And I knew that because I was their leader, but I did not know how big it was because it's such a secret organization that there were ways of keeping the membership secret. I couldn't even tell you exactly how many people were members of my own Klan then.
Okay.
I can tell you, though, that the Klan
understand.
is still alive and well.
I understand. It's not well, though. The FBI pretty much decimated it. Look, Antifa, you know Antifa, right? The far left anarchists
Yes.
who go out and cause trouble. I don't think there are many of them. There may be some sympathizers, but I don't think there are many of these people. Same thing on the far right. I don't think there are many neo-Nazis or Klan members in this country. In fact, I'd put the number at less than 1% on Antifa and the far right kooks. Because in this nation, there is a stigma attached to that kind of association. We have come to a place in America where if you're a Klan member, you're shunned, and if you're Antifa, you're shunned. Am I wrong?
You're absolutely right. And what the average person doesn't need to worry about usually is Klan members or neo-Nazis per se. But the thing is, there are a lot of sympathizers, as you mentioned, a lot of sympathizers. And what really bothers me more than anything is the ease at which someone can be radicalized into one of these groups because they're using the same tactics that I used back when I was running the Klan, only now they're able to do it through the internet. And you don't even have to meet another Klansman or neo-Nazi or Antifa member. You don't even have to meet someone in person to actually be radicalized into that philosophy.
I
and then
understand
they're-
that, and we see
carry,
that with
carry
ISIS.
out terrorist
Right.
acts.
We see it with ISIS. We see it with every terror group, that it's a lot easier for these groups to prey upon disturbed individuals because they have the internet now. No doubt about it. But I know for a fact that the FBI has infiltrated these websites and these organizations and does keep a close eye on them. So, I'm not that worried as an American that this far right white supremacist movement, other than doing individual damage, which of course they do, and it leads to people being killed. But as far as being a force in America, I don't think they're a force here.
I disagree. I think they're a growing force, and I think it's a growing danger that we need to constantly be aware of, and we need to be concerned about it.
Do you
and
have confidence that
especially,
law enforcement is on the case here?
I'm glad that you have that confidence, Bill. I am not confident that they're going to be able to do enough to combat the threat that we actually face.
What is it that you would like to see them do that they are not doing?
I would like to see more infiltration. The way you're going to stop the terrorists are you're going to infiltrate
But they're
their
already doing
organizations. You're going to do everything you can to bring them down. But more importantly, as a society, we have got to take a serious look at racial tensions in the United States. We cannot just write them off and pretend they don't exist. We've been doing that literally for
Doc,
decades,
we're
thinking that
living in-
everything is fine.
We are living in the most politically correct era in history. You have a media who will crucify anyone that mistreats a minority. I mean, you couldn't become more vigilant in policing thought vis-a-vis minorities. It couldn't possibly be more. So I'm not as worried as you are, but I'll give you the last word.
All right. Thank you. I think that what we need to do as a society is we need to take a broad view. We need to understand that we have not handled race relations well over the history of America, and we need to actually start having those discussions. It's never too late to talk about race, I always say, but we need to have those serious discussions with our children. We need to watch our children. We need to see how they're growing up. We need to see who they're palling around with. We need to know what's influencing them and make sure that they are not going to be that next person that is radicalized through the internet.
All right, Doctor, well said, and I agree with that. Thank you very much for helping us out today. Very interesting discussion.